The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Ardor SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. I have a very special guest for you today, Renee Funk, co-founder of the Funk Collection out of Orlando, Florida, Windermere, Florida, to be specific. Together, Renee and her husband, Jeffrey, were awarded the 2020 Top Couple in Orlando Real Estate by the Orlando Real Producer publication. The Funk Collection received back-to-back 2019 and 2020 Real Trends America's Best Award. Now, Renee has a I'm gonna chop it up, philanthropic passion focused on Edgewood Children's Ranch, and I'm sure she's going to want to talk about that, which supports at-risk youth in the Orlando, Florida area. Renee, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Tim. I'm grateful to be here on Icons of Real Estate. And yes, I work together with my husband. He's my favorite realtor, Jeffrey Funk. We've worked together for the better part of 20 years in varying roles, but with core focus in real estate. And he and I together in Orlando have a real estate organization and have been very happy to grow with a focus on improving agents' net income, as well as building lean and mean businesses.
Okay.
And it's important to orbit around a purpose. So you mentioned our philanthropic efforts. Yes, coming together and building up the community and helping out in philanthropic ways is something that's very passionate to us both, and hopefully continuing to be for our real estate agents as well.
Yeah, love it. I mean, you know, the four others mentality and giving back to the community is very important in our industry. There's no reason we shouldn't be doing things like that. And I hear it more and more, and I'm really happy to hear it. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. How did you get started? How you and Jeffrey got started? And if you want to elaborate on, what it's like to be an entrepreneur or working with your husband, I'd love to hear that story.
I love that topic. So yes, my entryway into real estate was one of a story we hear probably quite often of some realtors, and that is, I didn't want to become a real estate agent.
Okay.
Any listener out there, raise your hand. You're listening right now. And if you too found yourself in a moment that you didn't necessarily think you wanted to become a realtor, I can relate. There were a few years prior to me actually receiving my license that I said, no, I'm just not interested. That's not me. Yeah. However, my husband, Jeff, encouraged me to take another look. And he saw something in me that I'm really grateful he did. I had a limiting mindset belief before I became a realtor that a real estate agent was one lane and perhaps fit in one box, and it was only one way to build a business. And coming into the other side of being a realtor now, what I know is the real estate industry is an amazing industry that allows us as professionals to show up and build business around ways and skill sets and passion that speak to us. You've probably heard the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Right.
Show up and be your authentic self.
Right.
Couldn't be more important than as a real estate professional to say, you know what, where's something in your life that you're passionate about? You love dogs, you love yoga, you love giving back. Lean in there, because you'll create a tribe around that passion. And there exists that amazing opportunity to build a business. It's not one lane in the world of real estate. It's not a box.
Right.
We can really grow businesses in ways that speak to us. And so when I learned that fact, it's a forever I told you so to my husband. He was right. I should have became a realtor even earlier than I did. But I'm here now, and I'm really grateful because the impact that we're making is a privilege, whether it be the agents that we have the privilege to work with,
Right.
or the community members that choose us to represent them to achieve their home ownership goals. What we do is very special as real estate agents, and it is a privilege that I'm proud to be a part of.
Definitely, definitely. I love hearing that, and so many, to springboard from that a bit, you talk about, your husband basically gave you that little bit of, come on, I believe in you. I believe in you, right? And that's why we have spouses in the first place. We need someone to believe in us within our tribe, in our close-knit tribe. So can you expound upon that a little bit? Like, what has it been like? What are the trials and tribulations other than what we all go through with a spouse? But in being a team outside of the home,
Yeah.
and carrying that back into the home, back and forth, back and forth. I've gone through the same thing myself. It's always an interesting tell on that.
It probably is one of the most frequently asked questions that we receive is, how do you live together, work
Mhm.
together? You're married for 2 decades,
Right.
building a business. We're parents. We have 2 beautiful, amazing sons. How do you manage all that?
Yeah.
And how do you advocate for work-life balance? That's another question I receive often. And the reality is that work-life balance is it's a misconception. We do not believe in work-life balance. For our family, what works best is work-life integration, and the grace to say the 2 worlds are going to bleed into one another.
Right.
Also to give ourselves space that, if we're talking about real estate at the dinner table, some may say that's not a good fit for their family. It's a perfectly fine fit for our family to have
Right.
those conversations. We know it's a trade-off, but what we've found as we now have a 16 and 12-year-old is that exposure to the conversations of being an entrepreneur is really great conversation, and showing our kids what it means. The way we are now is not how we were raised. The financial freedom we have now is not how we were raised.
Right.
And what we need to do when we roll up our sleeves is something I'm very proud of. When we get in the dirt and get in the mud and actually make things happen, and we make mistakes and we talk about the mistakes.
Right.
To me, that kind of blending of personal life, family life, parent life, combined with business leaders and entrepreneurs, I don't want to focus on separation or balance. I personally see the blessings in combining the two and showing what the lessons are to be learned for all
Right.
involved. Myself as a mom, my
Right.
husband as a father, and both of our children.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, having raised 4 sons myself, that is so important. You said something right in the middle that intrigued me and fascinated me, and that is talking about mistakes.
Mm.
Now, this isn't a marriage counseling program or anything like that, but let's face it, the real estate industry is a 7-day a week, 24-hour a day, sometimes, business. And whether you're retail or institutional, whatever it may be, the phone's always ringing and people always need answers, right? And so sometimes when you're working together, there are mistakes. There's mistakes in
Yep.
every facets of life. And I agree with you so wholeheartedly. I can't even, describe it, that if you discuss the mistakes,
Mm.
not argue about them, there's a difference, between an argument and a discussion, which we're seeing that all around us in society now. So if you can discuss those mistakes and work out a solution, your work life, your integration, work life integration, as you call it, which I love, is, I believe what you say right there is going to be far easier and just a better path in your business, but more importantly, in your marriage. So I'll end that right there. And I don't.
No, I think that that's such a valuable point is,
Uh,
and one that, speaking of mistakes, a mistake I made in my earlier years, even over the last few years, is not giving myself the permission to live in the mistakes.
Good call.
Right. And
Yeah.
as we all, in my opinion, have a responsibility to be the best version of ourselves today, knowing that the goal is to be better than we were yesterday. And tomorrow I'll wake up and hopefully be a little bit better tomorrow than I
Right.
am today. Right.
Right.
Is that, gosh, I don't think in previous years, I personally spoke enough about the mistakes that I
Right.
made, the traps I fell in. Rather, I'll give you
We
an
bury
example.
them. We bury
I
them,
was,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
we bury them. We're like, oh, okay, it happened. That's not me, you know. Yes, it is.
And you know what that is when we bury them,
Yeah.
bury a mistake,
Right.
that's equal to missed opportunity, because
Right.
mistake
Right.
equals opportunity.
Right.
Challenge equals opportunity.
Yeah.
When we change our mindset around that fact, our whole world change personally,
Right.
professionally, right? An example of that is I was in a conversation with one of our marketing coordinators a couple of weeks ago, and our marketing coordinator was sharing with me a challenge that existed between our listing department, our marketing department, one of our listing agents. The challenge was just some cohesiveness, that right hand in a situation didn't know what left hand was doing, and we could have missed a deadline. Speaking of mistakes, we were making a mistake, right?
Right.
When it was proposed to me as, here's the situation, here's what we did to correct it, the first thing I said to my staff member was, thank you for sharing that with me. That was my mistake.
Right.
And my staff member said, that was your mistake? Well, what about myself? She said, what about this person and this person? I said, that's great. I love that. You're all owning up to the part in which you had.
Right.
However, it's my mistake as a leader in the organization, because I didn't see a blind spot. And now what we'll do is say, we learned, and here's what we're going to do as an organization to fix it and to rise up above it for the next time will be even stronger.
Yeah, that's a call and a sign of a true leader, right? I mean, and that's what we need to be. We are entrepreneurs. You're in your case. We're about to get into this, but you and Jeffrey are truly entrepreneurs, because you recently, as of January, as you told me earlier, have gone from production to actually running the business. Let's get into that a little bit and how that transition happened, and what was the why? At what point did you wake up and go, I'm not showing a property today, I'm not getting a listing today, I'm going to make sure the X amount of employees are getting what they need? Because that, to being an owner and the entrepreneur, I believe, and I'm going to let you expound on it, that's the most important thing to do. That helps others do well.
Yeah. So on the topic of transitioning and growing and scaling, and part of that for Jeff and myself was the question of how much would he and I still like to be into transactional real estate? And that journey and the answer to that question spanned over a few years as to what's next in Jeffrey and Renee's world of real estate and beyond. This is a question that I think all real estate agents, all entrepreneurs should ask themselves is, we're existing in a space that is our reality today, and here's the circumstances of today's reality. What is next for the next 12 months? What is next in the next 24 months, 36 months and beyond? And these conversations are so important to the health of your business as an entrepreneur and a business owner. Because if we're not careful, we can get stuck, right, in a hamster wheel of working in the business as compared to on the business.
Right.
So over a few years' time of conversation, he and I decided what was next for us is to find ourselves in a position that we could work more on the business.
Right.
We've been very privileged and fortunate to build a business in the real estate community throughout Central Florida that has spanned many years, and the ability to help others grow their business as well. And what was driving us is a passion to say, we want to replicate what we've built for our family of four to as many other families as possible. So we know how to build a real estate business.
Right.
We know how to successfully have, all the systems and processes. How can we bring this home to more real estate agents who may not have the same opportunities yet in their business. And in that definition of what's next, we decided we would pull back from transactional real estate and give those opportunities more to our real estate agents so that we can help them grow as well. Well, we all have the North Star, which is serving our community.
Sure. Well, so tell me about now. Now you're there. We're in the now.
Yeah.
No longer in the past. We're here right now. So let's talk about today. Talk about the day-to-day of, is it just training agents? Is it marketing for agents? What is it that differentiates yourself from being transactional based to managing the tribe, managing the people? What does that entail, and what does that involve, and what is it like?
Day to day now is really the drive to be able to lean in even more heavily on the things that make me skip to work each day. And that is helping agents understand huge gaps in their business. We talked a little bit about not all agents know scale. In fact, I didn't have conversation around what it meant to scale a business years ago. And there's a huge gap in the industry for agents to understand what that business development looks like, to understand how to scale their business, to understand how to avoid shiny objects.
Yeah.
Right? How many
Sorry,
real estate
I'm laughing with you.
I know you are. How many
I know
real estate
exactly
agents?
what you're talking about.
It's so easy. It's a trap, right? All the
Mhm.
phone calls that we get, buy this, buy that,
Mhm.
right? Here's the
Right.
reality is 90% of real estate agents, y'all can take those calls and tell them, no, thank you. Thank you for calling.
Right.
We do not need shiny objects. All we need is already existing in the contacts that we have in our world.
Right.
And so when you ask me, what is my day-to-day like? My day-to-day is focused on helping agents understand how to filter and sift the no's, stay on focus, to make sure they're generating the business they need today, and to make sure that there's people around them that are asking them what's next and making sure they're getting to their own version of what's next.
Got you. Okay.
Because when you ask me, how did you and Jeff decide to make some transition decisions in your business? The reality is that success is defined differently by all people.
Right.
And just because this is my current version of what success can look like for myself, the question really should be for everyone around us who chooses to be in business with us: what does success look like to you today? And what's next in your version of success? And then I feel as a leader, when we're there helping others climb and really pulling them up as we're climbing, that's where the real magic happens, so that they can find their own version of success.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So now we're in the now. Let's talk about the future.
Yes.
Right. So where would you like to see yourself? Where would you like to see, you and Jeffrey, like to see yourselves and your business in the next 5 to 10 years? What does that look like?
5 to 10 years. So 5 to 10 years for us.
5 to 10 weeks, it's up to you, but 5 to 10 years is usually what people want to know. What's the long-term plan?
5 to 10 years for us is maximizing impact, and with real focus of, we've grown in a matter of 5 years from what was 6 agents in Windermere. 5 years ago, we were closing about 16 million in volume to, in a 5-year span, now we have almost 140 agents in Central Florida. We're on track as a group of 140 agents to close about 400 million, north of about 700 units. And, I use that as one metric to quantify, but it's really focused on continuing to grow, because what I see in those numbers is impact to help others with financial freedom and help our community with home ownership.
Yeah.
It's what makes me skip to work each day. When I get those calls or a video text I received from one of my real estate agents the other day that was crying, saying, I had no idea this industry would change my life the way it is. Oh gosh, Tim, that That's everything.
Yeah.
That's
It's,
everything.
it is
How
everything.
amazing is it to be in this industry and have the ability to do what we do?
Right. I always go back to that, Renee, I always go back to that for others mentality. And, just knowing that it's almost, in my opinion, it's almost like being a parent, right? I mean, we at times live for our children. We nurture them, we guide them. There's sometimes, and not to equate one of your employees or an agent to a child, not trying to do that, but saying, as a parent, we have so much knowledge and so much experience that we want to pass on. What's the difference between that and bringing someone on as the newest realtor in the Funk Collection, right? And they only know what they know.
Yep.
No one's born with a manual. And interesting thing about real estate, after you take that test, there are very few manuals handed out. There's a lot of shiny objects, as you say, but there's no manual saying here's the secret to success, because there's not one secret to success. And it takes a mentality like that, like what you and Jeffrey have, I think, to create that success for your folks. So let's delve into a whole nother area real quick. And an area that we talked at the top of the show that you were very passionate about. Tell me about, your relationship with, let's say, the Edgewood Children's Ranch and what you're doing there, and some of the other things that you're working with in the Orlando area.
Absolutely. We had touched briefly on the importance of giving back and philanthropic focus. What I like to remind any entrepreneur or real estate agent is that the ability to give back isn't necessarily tied to a monetary
For sure.
contribution. We can sometimes, as humans, overthink things, and the reality is we can give back in so many ways. For Jeff and myself, 15 years plus, a passion of ours has been supporting Edgewood Children's Ranch, which is a ranch for at-risk youth here in Central Florida. Primary focus is Central Florida at-risk youth. However, Edgewood does have children from around the country at times that they bring in and are there to support. That's passion to us. However, what I would hope that we can chat a little bit about is, agents identifying what is something they're passionate about, and then building a tribe around that, right? And so as much as we're focused on Edgewood, I'll give another example of something that, a group of agents could come together and do. And this was inspired by one of our real estate agents. So one of our real estate agents came to us about 3 years ago and said, hey, Renee, have you heard of this initiative that you can do? Or some people will go out to a restaurant and they do it's like $100 tip dinner. There's a title of it. And I can't remember what it's called right now, but you may have heard it. Like a group of people get together and you throw $100 down, and then the server gets the most amazing gratuity, right?
Right.
And I said, okay, that sounds amazing. And they said, well, what would it look like if all of our agents came together in anticipation of the holiday season, and we surprised a server with, a really, really generous gratuity? And I said, that sounds amazing. So this agent started an initiative among our real estate agents where once a year, right before the holidays, we go out and we surprise a server. It's called the Funk Collection Surprise a Server Breakfast.
Nice.
And every real estate agent that attends the breakfast puts a donation in an envelope that's unmarked. It's whatever donation they feel led to give. It's not $100 necessarily. It can be any amount that they feel led to give. And we go out and have breakfast at a restaurant. No one knows what we're doing, not even the restaurant manager.
Wow.
And we will then at the end compile all the envelopes together, which even this last one we did, we were giving over a stack of envelopes. It was thick. Wow. And we give the envelopes to the server at the end of the meal. Wow. And we've collected, unbeknownst to us, anywhere from, 1,000 plus. I think one of the breakfasts we did, it was about $2,500. But even more importantly, what some moment like that can be is the impact you make as a ripple effect to your community.
Sure.
The most recent one that we had the opportunity to surprise, we don't know the server we're going to receive. This particular server was standing before us, opening the envelopes, crying, saying, I was about to be evicted next week.
Yeah. Life-changing.
Life-changing. We didn't know. She didn't know.
Yeah.
We all came together, and I think back to that, agent who proposed this as an idea over the last few years. And I thought, whether it's Edgewood's Children's Ranch or a way that you can think of that is just even a small ripple in your community, what ends up happening when you come together as a group, that little small ripple doesn't stay such a small ripple. So if we take anything away, it's ask ourselves, where can we make an impact? No matter how small it might be perceived, come together as a group with others. And whether it's your gift of time, whether it's your gift of money, whether it's your gift of just awareness to a cause, oh my goodness, we make big impact together when we come together.
Wow, that's just very powerful. And I think that's probably a really good spot to kind of let this marinate a little bit. Exactly. So I'll give you the last word, let you kind of close this out. One, how can people get in touch with you if they would like to maybe join your organization, which I think is very important to you, or maybe they're just looking for advice, or they like what, maybe they want to give back. How can they get in touch with you? And then, of course, you can give the last word.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me today. It's always a pleasure
Definitely.
to share a conversation. I am reachable on any social media platform. One of my most favorite platforms of the moment is Instagram. So on Instagram, it's at Renee_Funk. You can find me there or anywhere. And yes, I will close by saying that authentic collaboration at the core is changing the face of the real estate industry. So as we come together as an industry, what I encourage all agents to do is look around at the table that you're sitting at and really make sure that everybody at the table has a collective effort to focus on more deposits than withdrawals. And we're all authentically collaborating to uplift each other, because it changes everything about what we're doing. And of course, it changes the consumer experience, which I think we can all agree on is super important to us in our industry. So thank you so much for reaching out, and anything I can do to help others, I'm always here. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Renee. Have a great week. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.